as someone who's a creative, you constantly feel the need to create. I don't think there's any reason, rhyme to it. I mean, there's got to be something, there's got to be some sort of mental deficiency for me, or some sort of disease, some sort of underlying disease that just like pulls you towards this.
Hello and welcome to Where the Living Room Used to Be, a podcast about Rhode Island's music scene. Hey everyone, it's James. On this episode, I chat with Kevin Silva, most recently of The Warren Kids, who have a new EP coming out in July. In our discussion, Kevin seems to come upon what his first instrument actually was. Plus, we cover the start of Senior Discount and what the Providence scene was like for them during the early 2000s. And we get into the meaning behind some of his songwriting these days. Hope you enjoy the episode. If you do, please leave a rating or review wherever you're listening right now. And make sure to follow Where the Living Room Used to Be on Instagram, because I'll be posting some classic show photos, flyers, and more from Kevin's time in music. Thanks.
My father specifically would introduce me to a bunch of vinyls that he just had, most of which being the Beatles. I feel like at a young age, listening to the Beatles, getting into that, slowly being introduced to music, and then just as it progressed, just trying to take a stab at it myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how much, how much was that around? Or do you remember any early memories of thinking about songwriting?
Oh my gosh,
or was it just, obviously the Beatles are, hugely influential to so many people, but were you starting to break this stuff down?
For sure. I think that, around the tween years, you start to noodle around a little bit and get a feel for trying to release that artistic expression that I think that most songwriters it's innate. I feel like that in me has always been, whether it be any artistic venture, when I was younger, it was like doodling and art, drawing. But then as I grew, it got into performance art. Comedy has always been huge for me too.
Really? Cool.
Yeah. So anything I think that performance wise was always in me, and then just a natural progression of hearing songs, falling completely head over heels in love with music, and just a kid of the MTV generation too. Just the whole culture of what it was to be a musician and to be a songwriter, I think at the time was just really interesting to me. So I think as a tween is when I really got into it, is when I really started writing, playing around with song structure, and I think that's where I started.
Mm-hmm. And what was your first instrument then? Were you playing guitar? Were you?
Yeah, I think my first foray into it would have been on the acoustic guitar, just picking it up at home. There was always a guitar, a piano, any musical instruments are always just kind of scattered around. So I had great exposure to it. So yeah, my dad would kind of sit around and play some standards. So just watching him, I think I started, like much any guitar player, I think would just kind of banging on the acoustic itself, treating it like a bongo drum. Then you start playing it and you start learning it, and I don't know, it just it became something that I picked up little by little. But I'd say guitar I started off with. Eventually when I started playing in my first outfit, I played bass, then really kind of went head over heels into that. Still absolutely adore bassists and playing bass. Don't get a chance to as much in my current band, but I definitely miss it. So I started playing bass. Oh yeah, I guess piano too. That was always around.
Did you take lessons, or was it self-taught?
Yeah, no, I loosely I'd say it was a local, I think the church pianist from whatever church I was in. I think I took lessons, the classic story. I think we pay her in meatballs, and I would go and she'd teach
Yeah,
me
yeah.
for a half hour, just chord structure and things like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I definitely, I was exposed to piano at a very young age. I guess that was the first real instrument then for me, was the piano.
Okay. And where was this? Where were you?
This is in Warren. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I guess a little backstory. I'm born and raised in Warren, Rhode Island. My current band is the Warren Kids. It's a little play on words that our drummer Christian came up with. So it's the Warren Kids. So I grew up in Warren,
Hmm.
and that's where I started taking lessons.
Yeah. And you mentioned that early band. Like, what was your first band?
Ooh. Okay. My first band was a garage band in high school. We were all working. Well, two of us at the time. I played bass. There was a young lady who sang. Her brother played guitar. And we had a guy that was playing drums for us, and we all worked at, well, 50% of the band worked at Newport Creamery. So on the signs
Nice.
there used to be signs that would offer a senior discount to patrons that would come in above a certain age.
Yeah.
And so the lead singer and I always thought it was a funny thing to have the band name. We were in high school at the time. We called it Senior Discount. The first
Oh
one
yeah.
we
Of
played
course.
was a battle of bands at Mount Hope High School in Bristol, and then from there, I think is when I met Christian, my current drummer. Met him in high school as well too. Started hanging out with him. He never had played any instrument at all before.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, so the story of me and Christian meeting is actually kind of an interesting one. Um,
Yeah.
so at the time, I know that you must be familiar with Christian being a drummer yourself.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I've done shows with them, and that's why actually I was even just surprised, just because he's such a solid drummer, to have him just be like,
I
oh, he
actually,
just kind of like, he
well,
just kind
let's
of
no,
fell in or
let's
whatever.
let's
Yeah. Yeah.
no, James. We need to tread very lightly on the idea of calling Christian anything of a remotely serviceable drummer.
Okay, we'll edit this out. So yeah. But
um,
yeah, we've
no,
played shows with him, and yeah, yes, obviously seen you, but yeah, no.
you
But
guys
yeah, please
talking
continue.
about one of his other bands, actually, No Plateau. I just listened
Yeah.
to the Will Schaff episode today, who kind of gives a shout out to No Plateau, and I thought it was great. Anyways, yeah. So Christian and I, he took an interest in playing music, and he literally just went to my parents' basement. There was a drum set that my brother had there. Never touched it, so he just started playing those, and that was the first iteration of Senior Discount. Was the two of us, and probably playing with him since 2002. I want to say, yeah, it must have been 2002 of my
2002.
senior
Yeah.
year. Yep. So started playing with him. Then that band, Senior Discount, just kind of started playing around Providence a lot, and actually the living room
Yeah.
being we would consider our home base during those years. I'd say 2002 to like 2006 ish, 2010ish at
Hmm.
the latest, something like that. Yeah, so we played in Providence a lot, and that whole scene really got me. I think at the time I was 18, 19 years old, so that kind of fully dipped my toe in the deep end of the Providence music scene at that time
Hmm.
with that band. And then after
Yeah.
them, I ended up meeting my wife. I met my girlfriend. She's from Jersey, so we moved down to Jersey for a little while. I started another band there with her cousin, one of my best buds
Okay.
over down in Jersey, and that was my band MeandWho. I was
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that as a solo when Senior Discount was around. I was doing the MeandWho project as a solo project on the side. It was more of like an electronic, like
Hmm.
poppy, very poppy feel. Other stuff that I was doing. Yeah, and then did that for a while. We had some great opportunities in that band to play in New York City
Hmm.
a lot. Unlike so for that band, it was interesting because playing out in Providence for a while and getting into that scene was great, and that really kind of changed my life forever. But then playing it around New York, it was a totally different thing because like these national acts would come through, and it was incredible. That we just randomly, I emailed this promoter around the area, like the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, and he would just put us on national acts, like just as we had really no draw at all, and we'd play like Webster Hall with like Guy in the Ambulance
Yeah.
would come through, and they'd be like, "Yeah, like go ahead, go play." And it was amazing. It was a great opportunity just to play in front of a bunch of audiences that were super receptive, but like big bigger crowds in and around the city. So that was a great experience for me.
I swear that they could keep my tired eyes from ever wanting to shut. Oh baby, just one last kiss goodnight, and I could easily say the sound of your voice is seamless places at the edge of the night that we have. We both have agreed to never escape our minds, never escape our minds. And I know from the way that your body fits into mine that I could never possibly sleep without you by my side. I know that the nights we've done, the sunlight slowly blazing through the clouds. But baby, let's get some rest tonight.
Left there, moved to Boston for a little while. Didn't play. Kind of gave up, put music on the back burner. I was in school, went to school during that time for roughly 4 years.
Yeah, you're a lawyer now, right?
I am, yeah. So I was in law school at the time in Boston. Yeah. Great experience. I mean, that city for me was a great time. But I although I wasn't writing, I was always writing. As I guess we can talk about it later. But the idea of as someone who's a creative, you constantly feel the need to create. Like I don't think there's any rhyme to it. I mean, at my age now, to be doing, still trying to write and play out and, even deal with the Providence scene again is, there's going to be something, there's going to be some sort of mental deficiency for me, or some sort of disease, some sort of underlying disease that just like pulls you towards this. And so during the Boston years, I felt that for sure. So I was always having the itch, Had my son was born 2016, and we were living just outside of Boston, and we moved back to Rhode Island, and that's when I hooked up again with Christian, and then we started the Warren Kids.
Yeah, that's a quick recap. You just blazed through like.
Are we done? All right. So
yeah. All right, everyone. Podcast. So you got it.
We can just roll the spot now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, I'd love to just talk a little bit more about your experience playing in Senior Discount. From this side, you kind of glazed over it, but Senior Discount is a very well-known band from the scene. You got to do some really big things, and you talked about the start of it, but can you talk a little bit about the experiences that you had with that band, and some of the places you played, and just a little bit more of some of the records that you did?
Absolutely. Senior Discount was one of my life-changing experiences. I feel like there's been, in people's lives, you get like 4 or 5 really good moments in your life that'll change the path of it forever. And Senior Discount was definitely one of those for me. I feel like at the start, like for us, we kind of got picked up into the scene. This is the time of like Monty's fan club at the time, who eventually became Monty R.I. Bad Larry, the guys in Slick Willie. A bunch of the bands at the time. I mean, it was an incredible time to be playing in Providence, especially during those years.
And in this, I mean, how would you describe the band? Sort of like punk.
Definitely. Pop punk. I don't want to sell it for anything. That's interesting too. Is that's one thing which I love your podcast, by the way. I need to take a moment I'm a huge fan, and I think it's incredible what you do for the scene. I think it's incredible what you're contributing to the Providence storyline, and I think it's an important thing that you're doing. And so I just want to say thank you on behalf of allowing me on, and thank you just as a listener. But the idea of playing in Providence. So I don't want to sell it short. My band was definitely a pop punk band in the mid to early 2000s or late 2000s. So we were playing the stuff that everyone in the Providence music, the quote unquote, real Providence music scene hated. Like we were always an outcast at the table. Still today, I feel that way. Just because the music that we play, just I think for us is just something, especially for myself, I can't not write in that genre. Like I've tried so hard, just as a songwriter, like an exercise, like right outside of that specific genre, it's like almost impossible for me. So
Oh, okay.
to play that music, like it's not. At the time, I felt like it was easy to say, "Oh, we're playing the type of music that we played for obvious, reasons because it was the most commercially successful type of music at the time."
Mhm.
But it's funny because I now in Jersey, I did pretty much the same type of sound, and now I'm pretty much doing the same type of sound. So I think there's something like that just I can't shake in my songwriting abilities that like just keeps me there. But yeah, Senior Discount was a
Well,
punk
you're
band I
good
thought
at
had.
it, so I wouldn't
And
worry about it. Yeah.
that's
See, one
so
thing if you were
kind.
like very
That's so
bad at
sweet.
writing pop punk songs, but you're
Hey, I appreciate it. It's so sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and then so with Senior Discount, we really kind of leaned into that culture at the time of like
Mhm.
tomfoolery. There was a lot of like, you know, tongue in cheek, dick and fart jokes, things like that. And like
Mhm.
Senior Discount played right to that because our guitarist was creating this content before even like viral or there was even a need for video content. Our guitarist was creating these like viral videos, and it was like selling the band. The band's reputation preceded it when there wasn't even. I think at the end, at least my tenure of Senior Discount, it came to a point that it wasn't about the music anymore. It was about the video and culture of what I think that brand was bringing forth, and it was great.
Okay.
It was so much fun. Like to say that there wasn't a day that I think we practiced. Senior Discount back in the day was more of like a hangout. We practiced probably like two, 3 times a week. So
Yep.
like we're hanging out with our best friends. We had not a care in the world, no responsibilities. We were laughing every single day, whether it be writing something, playing something, hanging out, recording something. It was literally just a
Mhm.
like a fun house of just insanity and wackiness all the time. It was awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we got hooked up. I think our biggest connection that we made in Providence was the Monty guys, and
Yep.
they were incredible. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
we were like Christian being a self-taught drummer, very slow process. A guitarist being a very slow process. Chucky taught himself guitar too.
Mhm. Yeah, who are the
The
other
whole
members and Senior
yeah,
Discount?
so Christian, State, and cousin Chuck. Those are like the original guys.
Mhm.
So Christian and Chucky were the founding members, and then we eventually we brought a lead guitarist, and that's kind of like the bedrock foundation of the band. Is became the lead guitarist, and that was kind of what the Senior Discount heydays were. I left probably like 2006, 2007, but before
Okay.
that, the guys they really helped us out though with the Monty guys, and I got to develop really good friendships with a lot of them. And some of the guys, Andrew, the piano player for Monty, and the trombone player for Monty, him and Justin and I and Chris used to hang out a lot, and he kind of taught me a different. He like so music for me, local music started off when I used to skate back in the day. So that skate culture kind of had a local band thing going on. There was one time there was a skate park in the Barrington YMCA, which had like a ska show, and it was a pretty crazy ska Barrington band. I can't remember the name of them, but then eventually I used to go to this kid's band, Shrunken Aztecs. It was actually Seth Manchester's band from Machines with Magnets.
Oh yeah, the engineer there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew Seth through a buddy in town in Moore, and he went to private school, so I knew some kid. He had this band, the Shrunken Aztecs. They actually played my high school graduation party. And then I, with Senior Discount, the first album we recorded with Senior Discount was at, what was it, Newcastle in Barrington or Riverside?
Oh yeah,
I think it
Newcastle
was,
Sound
yeah,
Group. Yeah.
yeah. Or was it Groundswell at the time? I can't remember. We recorded our first, so that was me, Chuck, and Christian. We recorded like an EP, a 5-song EP, which it still exists. I'm sure Chucky definitely has it.
Mhm.
That was I'd be embarrassed if that came to surface anytime soon. But then eventually we
Well,
got
I
in the
dig.
band.
I dig, Kevin.
Oh
So
no, no.
I'm gonna find it.
If you're like,
So
and we're
so
gonna
if you're
this
a
is
true
like
fan, you know
this
that I
is your
dig, and
life.
everyone's like, "Oh shit, James
And
found this."
yeah. So please don't go looking for that. And I know who's gonna have it.
Yeah, I'm messaging Chuck right now. So
So then we had Tommy in the band, and that created like a whole different musical landscape. And I know it sounds trite saying it about a pop punk band, but it really did. They created like a whole different musical landscape for us to kind of start writing different stuff. And at that point, that's when we really started playing out live shows. The videos took off like wildfire. Um, then we hooked up with the Bad Larry guys, which is always great shows with those guys. So much fun, so many laughs. And the Monty guys too, of course. They always took us under their wing and they taught us everything. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Going back to my original thought. So one of the first with the skateboarding thing, one of the first times I ever really knew a good local band was Groove Malt. Back in the day in Providence, used to have the Gravity games, and they were incredible, right? So I always listened to Groove Malt back in the day. I loved them. And then we used to hang out with Andrew and Justin. They're like, yo, you got to listen to this cat, Gavin Castleton, and he had, I forgot the name of the EP at the time, or even it was an LP. It was Gavin's like solo hip hop stuff. And it was incredible. Like me and Christian probably wore that CD down to its mirror reflective paper. We couldn't stop playing it. So listening to Gavin playing what we were playing, him and I started getting the itch to like play something different. And that's when I started, I think, going the electronic route. But going back to the second CD we recorded with Senior Discount, we recorded with Joe Moody.
Oh, okay.
In Providence. I forget the name of the street. R.I.P. Joe. He was great human being. I forget the name of the studio, but he recorded the actual like Senior Discount EP there, which was so much fun. We were like literally hanging out on the stoop, being young 20 kids. It was a great experience. I would never trade it for the world.
Why did you let her go? You know she loved you so. Fucked up and left for good, just like you knew you would. Now she won't come around. Packed up, moved out of town, and now you're in the dumps. These words are full for chumps. She won't come back, she won't come back to me. She won't come back, she won't come back to me. She won't come back, she won't come back to me. She won't come back, she won't come back to me. And I said, hey, you didn't like you. Could talk to me for hours. Hey, you, did you want to see me cry? Hey, you didn't like you. Could talk to me for hours. Hey, you, did you want to say goodbye? You're ugly, pathetic. Now she's gone, had it. The habits that were there, up with them. For next year. There's no shame, it's alright. I guess I mostly spite. The next time she's all around, I'll see who she has found. She won't come back, she won't come back to me. She won't come back, she won't come back to me. She won't come back, she won't come back to me. She won't come back, she won't come back.
And then after that, I moved down to Jersey, and that's when the MeandWho stuff started. And again, I like that band incorporated. So I started MeandWho when we were still in Providence. Actually, we used to hang out on like Oakland Street next to Golden Crust in Providence. And, we'd hang out with a lot of like the Slick Willie kids and that group there. That's when I started doing like the bedroom MeandWho stuff. Which that if you want to do a deep dive, that stuff, I'm sure it's still out there on maybe MySpace. But I started recording in my bedroom because I learned how to play a Motif 6 ES from Andrew at Monty. That was a good time. He came to my parents' house. My practice space was above my parents' garage. He came over one day and I gave him like I want to say like a 30 rack of natural light, maybe whatever it was. And he taught me how to, because he told me to buy this Motif 6 ES, incredible machine. I still have it and I still write on it. He taught it to me. And so I started playing around with that. And like kind of like that hyper pop, just ultra auto tune stuff. I started working on it in my bed, and I love that because I just did the pop punk thing, but then made it a little electronic. And then I went down to Jersey and did that band.
And then you kind of like filled out the band from there, basically. Like you kind of had these like solo recordings, and then you said, let's add a band to this.
Yep, exactly. That's some of my I'm most proud of that work, I think. So Warren Kids are working on a current EP, and going to be some really awesome tracks on there. But the stuff that I did with MeandWho down in Jersey, it just came with such ease. At that time, I met a kid that had a recording studio in New York, who I've been working with ever since. Even all the MeandWho stuff I recorded with him, Ron Geffen. So I started recording with Ron. I met him. He was a young kid who was 16, I think. And I started doing the MeandWho stuff with him. And that's where we developed like a a great working relationship with him. He eventually became like the Phil Spector to the Warren Kids, because we
Oh,
would
okay.
go in and he was definitely the fifth Beatle always, and like everything I've ever worked on, because he was a savant. Like I'd be like, hey, I'm thinking of like especially solos. Like I don't consider myself a guitarist, I'm still a bassist at heart, true and true. But he would like, I'd be like, hey, Rob, I'm thinking of this little noodle, and he would just do it, and it was the best. And we'd have a song recorded within like an hour. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the MeandWho stuff was great. And then eventually went to Boston, took a hiatus, came back to it, and then we with kind of hit when I was living Metro West Boston for a little while. My wife was pregnant at the time with our first, and that's when I started writing the first Warren Kids EP. Most of the songs on there are mostly about me missing home. I had been in Jersey for about 3-4 years, been in Boston for about 3-4 years, and just kind of really missed Rhode Island. And that first EP was almost like a homecoming EP in the sense of like I'm trying to think of the track listing, but most of the songs are like about longing for Rhode Island again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the Stay Lost EP that you did.
Yep.
So you were writing that prior to even coming back to Rhode Island?
Yeah. Yep. I think that was like the final year when we were living just outside of Boston. I wrote it within like a month or two basis, like just kind of cranked them out. That's, some of the best work that comes in quick succession.
Yeah. So can you talk about the start of that band then? Like what was the progression of, coming back to Rhode Island and starting that?
So once we were back, we set up shop in North Kingstown, and then immediately Christian and I were hanging out more, and we're like, we need to start playing again. Best friends. So we're hanging out, and so we just started playing. I had these songs, kind of that whole itch needing to get out. I needed to get the release out. So I started showing them. Then we went through a couple iterations pretty quickly. Shawnee from No Plateau was our lead for a little while, lead guitarist. It's always been Christian and John, his brother John, on bass. I've really tapped the state in wealth of
musical
resources.
yeah.
So, any chance there's a state attached, then I'm like, all right.
Are there any left?
Yeah, there is. And I have a secret. We'll talk about it later on. I have a secret coming up, but I'm going to grab one last state for an upcoming show, big show.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So John was always a permanent member. John Staten, and Christian's brother, who's an amazing bassist. He plays for No Plateau as well. He used to play for Eyes in Front, I believe. But he's incredible, and it was adorable actually, because we were having a conversation one time, and I forgot what it was. I'm just saying this right now, just to put this in digital history forever. John said to me, he was probably 16 or 17, favorite bassist, and he like listed, 3 bassists, one of which being me from the Senior Discount days. And I never would forget it, but now he just murderer. He just absolutely crushes the bass, and there was no one else I want playing 4 strings in my band besides that gentleman. So I have John, and then now we have so it's Hannah Staten, their sister, her husband is playing in the band now, lead. That's Steve, and Steve's been with us the last couple releases that we've had, like two years, something like that. And that's the current lineup that we're playing with. Yeah, but we've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah, and can you talk about recording that EP and like how you mentioned that the songs came together quick, but like what was where did you go and record that? And because it did seem like it was a pretty accelerated start of the band, and obviously it's probably just because you have these like long relationships.
The machine was already in the works for sure. Yeah. Which is crazy. That's something too. I feel like it's an important point to talk about, especially in this medium. The Providence scene when I came back was totally different. It was like, I think when I left the scene, it was definitely like a pay to play environment. We were on the good side of a lot of people, man. So it was just different. And I came back, and it was like so nice to see kids coming out to shows, people being interested. I think in the beginning of the Warren Kids, it really wasn't there, but definitely currently, it's incredible to see the outpouring of support. I feel like we're not me personally, but like we as a band are just finally trying to break back into that like cool kid club of Providence, which again, I don't think we'll ever have a seat at the cool kids table, just being the genre that we are. But that the outpouring and the love that we see in the Providence scene is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
What was the question? I feel like I missed the question entirely.
Yeah, I was talking about the recording of that first EP. How did that process come about? Like, what changed with that? Like, were there certain things that came out better than what you were first envisioning as you were
for sure
demoing these songs and stuff? Can you talk about some of those things?
Absolutely. One specific instance where I feel like we recorded just came out better than I can ever imagine is the track Charlie. Still to this day, one of the songs that I really feel like we hit it. And I love it. But the producer, so when we recorded it, it was the guy Ron in New York. And it was pretty quick, the whole process. Like I don't want to poo-poo too much of what we do, because it's pretty straightforward musically. So I think the recording process is easy. But for me, like I'll toil with like lyrics, song structure, not really song structure, but like message and mostly lyric. Like it's where I hang my hat on. It's just my lyrics. Like, and it's interesting too, like to be not be considered a songwriter. Like everyone, I feel like is used to someone in like a pop punk outfit or a punk outfit. You don't really think of them as a songwriter. But for myself, like even again, bringing back to the Beatles, I think what we play now is just a augmented version of what they used to do back then. So I really kind of want to lean into like the hardcore and things like that, like do's and ahs, and I love all that the vibe 50s doo-wop music. But we kind of knocked the whole thing out, I think, in 2 days, and didn't do much post-production stuff, and then we were off to the races, and then we were excited, and then we wanted to start playing. At the time, like my son, probably one, my wife was pregnant with our second, maybe, when that EP came out. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was like June of 2019.
Yeah, so Rowan, my middle guy, was around. Yeah, so we released that, which was awesome. Did some shows and stuff. Started kind of hitting the ground running.
But yeah, one thing I found that was interesting is that your first show was the like album release for for that EP, which is just a cool little piece of trivia. It's very I think Tool, something like that was like their first show, they were already like signed or something or whatever, like something like that. So
oh shit,
I'll compare you to Tool, like
I'll take it. It's good company.
Yeah. But yeah, you mentioned some of the singles that you put out, and one thing that stands out with those are they're accompanied by like some amazing videos, and I'd love to just kind of learn a little bit more about that. like who's making them, just because I think it's a a really well done, well thought out. But it seems like you've just done a fantastic job of kind of packaging that, and it sounds like, I guess, talking to you now, like of pulling in some of those old influences, some more of that senior discount, of just having that, ability to present something visually, but also just have something that's really, fun and inviting and adds to the song itself, So can you talk about those videos and what kind of went into them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was just kind of a keeping up with the times thing, in the sense of you realize you gotta, not only as a songwriter, you gotta keep pushing new material out, but now I realize it has to be coupled with the visual. Me, with each video that we did, the visual was, so the gentleman that we work with is always Brian Lau, and we also work with Andrew Lima on one, but Brian mostly. And we would always do it again in like a night, like, 'cause with the kids and lives and everything else in the way, we kind of just do it as quickly and as cheaply as we can. So the first one, the idea, I came up with the idea of the single shot.
Oh yeah, so that was for the "Goodbye My Valentine" song. It was
Yeah.
just shot in one single shot
Actually, I know.
around a house or whatever.
I should
Or
rewind too,
was it?
because I forgot we did. It was. I definitely want to get back to it, but I forgot we did the Gemini video first. So we did the EP, and then
Oh
we did
yeah,
the Gemini
okay.
video
That was
at the Galactic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I knew in my mind. So for some reason in my mind, I kept seeing. I was like, a single camera, not moving at all, in the Galactic, and then have like dancers in front. And then I was looking around, and I found the Tropical girls, and they're incredible. And so I talked to Kristen, and then they came, they did it, and they did it. We pretty much did it in one take, because they just absolutely perfected what they did on their end. And they came and they executed, and they were the best. And we shot that, I think, in 2 takes. Didn't move the camera at all. Just super simple, but at the same time, I think it's visually, like, for me, it's going back, because the recording of the song itself kind of irks me, but watching it, I think it's incredible. And I'm like, Brian did such a good job. The Tropical girls did amazing. And it was just cool, and Dave let us in to do that in the space. So it, and I messed up while we were there. I accidentally messed up his sound system, so that the night at the Galactic didn't have music in the background because of me.
Oh, okay. Like you changed some of the settings for the video performance, and it didn't go back.
Yeah. It wasn't too thrilled about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a fun one for sure. And I think after that, that's when I started realizing, like, the idea of, like, we were putting out singles. And it made sense with money wise, and we were still traveling to New York, so we'd get the guys, we'd go down to New York, and we would record in a day and come back, and that's all we really had was the day. So we were doing singles, and then we did Goodbye My Valentine. And that's the idea. When we sat down, I was like, we got there, and the guitarist at the time was Sam, and Sam said he had this idea for a video, and we tried it, the idea of it, and it wasn't working. And I was like, we're just going to do a single shot, and we're going to do it this way. And we did it all, and we practiced it, like moving the drums, moving everything. We had 2 drum sets, I think, moving the amps and stuff, and it was done. Like, it really, like, not to be too pretentious about something that was a part of creatively. I think it just came together, but, like, it really is like a ballet. Like, when you watch the video, it seems like it moves pretty flawlessly, and I was really proud of that one at the end. And I sat and watched it, and, like, I think that people that like, the cinephiles or whatever, they like cinematography, they're gonna appreciate that video, and just, like, the idea of the single shot. I know it's been done before, but I thought it was cool, and it worked.
That was, oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was really well done, and I loved it. Yeah, it was something that I haven't really seen too much, especially from kind of people in this area. So it was a really fun and inviting video to check out.
For sure. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, and I thought what do we do after that?
You had 5 Million Miles, and then Get Happy, your most recent single.
So
but the 5 Million Miles one was like, basically, looks like you threw a pool party, like a summertime thing, and you.
We actually filmed that.
But again, like, just to that fun and inviting thing, it was just cool to just watch you, like, having fun and having kids play your instruments and lighting off fireworks, and just the way it was shot was just really visually appealing.
The 5 Million Miles video was shot on my birthday. It was June 19th. It was the best. It was literally the best experience of my life. Like, I wrote that song. I wrote that song specifically for my kids. And when I wrote it, they were like into it. Then they started like they would run around after dinner every night. We'd always have like a dance party, and they would be into like music, and they started getting into like heavier music and like things like that. And I was like, dope. Like they're kind of into my thing. So I wrote them the song, and then I was like, I need to have them now in this video to document, to literally take a snapshot of my life at the time and document it. And I think that video for me, I also like, when I talked to Brian originally about it, I said, I want this to feel like a home video, like a the kids watch this and it looks grainy to them in 2035, and it's just like a snapshot of what their life was. And I think we definitely did that. And I love that video. I love, I watch it maybe once every couple months just to remind me how little they were.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And it obviously just means a lot more in that, coming from that view. So
absolutely. It was just a blast. It was so much fun. That's exactly what it was. It was just a big pool party. We had fun.
In your sunset eyes, the summer doesn't seem so far. You were much north in a bedroom filled with pale Greek stars. I'll show you up before you fall. Always in your corner when you can't back down. You can't back down. I'll be your champion through it all. So don't fear this storm all alone. I'm here with lights to carry you home. I will never let the darkness get to you, so please hold on. Hold on to this all when I'm gone.
But yeah, I'd love to talk about your new EP. What do you have planned for that? Just let people know what's going on.
Yeah, well, we're literally in the process of doing it now. We were just tracking drums last week. So the gentleman who did the Get Happy video was Andrew Lima. He's a Bristol kid too. And started working with him, and then the kid in New York who we were working with just priced us out. He was too expensive. So we reached out to Andrew, and so we're working on a 5-song EP with him right now. Pretty excited about it. I think the stuff is going to sound great. We're doing one of the tracks is going to be a folk track, which I'm interested in just branching. This EP is going to hit a couple different genres
Like
that I've
styles of
been
music,
interested in doing. Yeah, so like we have horns on a song, do like a ska type feel song, and we're gonna have a straightforward pop song, punk song, and then we have like some indie tracks. But not a lot of it is just sounding great. I'm loving the process because again, it's like an accelerated process because we just kind of committed to a timeline. And I'm not forcing the creative process, but I'm kind of moving along quickly. And it's just been fun. It's been like, as someone who just creates constantly in my head, it's fun. It's like it's all I think about. Like, it's just a fun thing to kind of do in the background of someone with an ADD brain.
Yeah. Is there a title for the EP yet?
I don't know. We're banging around a couple ideas, but not really. We're hoping to release fairly quickly though. We have a CD release party at Galactic Theater. That's a big show we have coming up. So we have a couple shows coming up. July, Galactic is going to be our EP release, and it's going to be a fun thing to do. A bunch of hometown folks will hopefully come out to that show. I know that I can say this is confirmed. Jake Wasson, MD, is going to be opening for us that evening.
Yeah.
And
what day is that?
This is going to be July 8th at the Galactic. It's Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we're playing Rejects, Town or Newport. Not sure where it is, but we're playing that.
It's like Middletown, I think. But yeah.
Is it? Yeah, I think you're right.
Thanks.
We're playing that June 16th. That's a Friday evening. We're playing with actually a guy who is crazy. So the gentleman has a band called Pavid Vermin, and
oh yeah.
you know them?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, there's like it's funny because like so this kid who I used to used to run with the Slick Willie guys. I knew him through that, but
Mhm.
his son went to kindergarten with my son, and then we just hooked up that way. And then he's like showing me, he's showing me Spotify and things like that. He's got like 6,000 listeners a month, and I'm like, this is incredible.
Mhm.
Like, he just cranked out these tracks. It was incredible. So I think he has like a song library of like 500 songs already in like 3 years. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So they're going to be playing that show on the 16th, and then we're going to be playing the Warren Folks Fest this year too, which
That's rad.
yeah, we're super amped about it being obviously the hometown festival. Much like I don't know if I hounded you to be on your podcast. I was, like I said, I'm a listener, I'm a fan. I probably was texting, emailing you maybe on a monthly, weekly basis just to get on the
No, it
pod. So I
wasn't.
did this.
No.
I feel like I did the same to the Folks Fest in Warren, and the gentleman who does the booking couldn't have been kinder. And so finally this year he gave us a go, and we're going to be playing it, and we're super excited.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, this will be. Do you have a release date for the EP itself? Is it coming out on?
I think it's going to be. We'll do the same thing. We'll do a show and release on July 8th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're hoping to move quick.
Yeah, and that'll be up on all the digital platforms and everything like that. Or do you have anything else planned for the release?
Nope. I would love to have it pressed in some way, shape, or form, but I don't think it's going to be in the cards just financially.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it'll definitely be up on all platforms. But right now we're really reveling in the fact that we're just creating again. That's always been especially in today's day and age. If you're not constantly creating, then you're just stagnant and you're growing moss.
Yeah. No, well, it sounds like you just have that same drive that I have and that many people that I've talked to have. And, I've said it many times.
It's weird.
I take a step back. Like it doesn't logically make any sense to do this, but I'd have to. Yeah. So
that's what it is. Like that's the thing that it doesn't logically make any sense, is because I don't think it's a drive, because I don't feel like it's funny. Like my wife, Meg, I don't feel like I'm driven in the sense to be like, oh, you get to go to band practice with the kids. You get to go to band practice twice a week. I mean, once a week. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but that's not, like, to me, especially now, is like, it's almost like more of a job. Like it's something that I feel like I have to do. It's a burning, it's a desire. It's something that, like, as I just have to be constantly creating. Like, again, going back to the whole idea of like, I love stand-up comedy, and the idea that they're constantly like creating. They're just on the road. They're doing, like, I think the love work of what a musician would want to do. They're just doing the road work and constantly growing and improving. Like that kind of thing is just interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you're able to do it, and that you have this outlet, and that you have this community of people around you, and these, friends that are with you,
For sure.
It's, and what you're putting out is legit. It's awesome.
Thanks,
I really do enjoy the Warren Kids, and yeah, checking out MeandWho. It was really cool.
Thanks, man.
Well, yeah, just one more question for you here. And, it's one I always ask, with everything that you've done and kind of been a part of, like, what would you say has been your greatest musical accomplishment to this point?
I have to say, shooting the video for 5 Million Miles with my kids. Yeah. For me, like, once I made the connection in that world with the most important thing in my world, and that had to have been it, right? Because I was hanging out with my best buds, and my kids were there, and everyone was laughing, having a great time, and it was a celebration. It was awesome. So probably that, I would say, over anything else. Yeah,
that's really cool, and that's a great thing that even a lot of musicians don't get to do. So I'm glad you had that experience.
Sure. Thanks, man.
I truly appreciate your time. It was great to learn more about your musical past and, dive a little bit deeper into some of the bands you've been a part of. And, I'm really excited to hear your new EP and,
thanks, man.
Catch you over the summer. Yeah. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thanks, James.
Well, hold on, Charlie. Charles, please hold on. society's out to get you. Anxiety, atom bombs. We can still talk about nothing while sounding like sterile tears. Oh, Father, don't desert me. We both know that your end is near.